Okay, welcome everyone to our Bye Bye Corporate Hello Happiness, the Joy of Being a Workshop Leader. And my name is Dr. Patricia Crane. I was so privileged to study personally with Louise Hay. And I can tell you, doing the workshops, the Heal Your Life workshops in her philosophy is the joy of my life. So I'm thrilled to have our panelists here today. And we have Sandra Filer. And Sandra is our teacher trainer for the United States. She's also living in her dream place in Bradenton, Florida, which she manifested with the Heal Your Life work. And she also, before coming to this work, she started at age 16 in the banking business, was there for 20 years, working herself up to vice president. And that was probably a time when aqua hair was not okay. And, and now she is just a wonderful teacher trainer here in the US. And then we have Doyle Ward. And Doyle was in the corporate world for 25 years, ending as a general manager for a hotel chain. And he's been with the Heal Your Life work for a number of years now and has a very thriving coaching business. Then we also have Loretta Tolliver. And Loretta was in corporate work for almost 40 years. And she was in many managerial positions and ending with one that was really about helping the employees, which was also very wonderful for her. And then we have Alyssa Martin, and Alyssa assists Sandra. She's also a Heal Your Life workshop leader and coach. And Alyssa worked for U-Haul and then American Express for many years. Now, as I'm introducing these people, I have a feeling you're thinking, wow, they all look so young. How could they have been in corporate for so long? And I'll tell you what, truthfully, that is a perk of the Heal Your Life work, because often people go home from the training and their friends and family are saying, what did you do? You look 10 years younger. And so, yes, they all have been in corporate for many years, and the Heal Your Life work keeps them young. Now, we always like to start out with a reading from our mentor, Louise Hay. And so I have some of her wise words about work. And what you might want to do is just take a nice deep breath, take a moment to relax, and just listen to these words. Louise says, when people ask me about my purpose in life, I tell them that my work is my purpose. It is very sad to know that most people hate their jobs, and even worse, that they don't know what they want to do. Finding your life's purpose, finding work that you love to do, is loving who you are. Maybe you're in a job now where you feel stuck or you hate it, or you find that you're just putting in your time to bring home a paycheck. Well, there are definitely things you can do to make positive changes. The most powerful tool you can use to transform your situation is the power of blessing with love. No matter where you work or how you feel about the place now, bless it with love. I mean that literally. Say, I bless my job with love, but don't stop there. Bless love to the building, the equipment in the building, your desk if you have one, the counter if you work one, the various machines you use, the products, the customers, the people you work with, the people you work for, and anything associated with this job. It will work wonders. And so it is. So thank you, Louise, for those wonderful, wise words. And truly, it does make a difference, because one of my other mentors said, how you do anything is how you do everything. So when you do your best at a job, even one that you know is not your ultimate purpose or the ultimate one you want, you're setting up some really positive feelings about yourself and where you are that will help propel you to the next place. So we're going to start out now with just asking the panelists about some of their attitudes when they were growing up, what they learned growing up about work, and what was possible for you. So I'm going to start with Sandra. What kind of attitudes did you have in your family or beliefs?
So the attitudes that we had growing up, the first thing that just comes up for me is a message that I heard over and over and over and over again, which was that my father had to work very, very hard to put food on our plates and to feed the children. And in looking back, in looking at this, I realized that when I left home at 18, I had 3 jobs. So I literally worked very hard to put food on my table.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Doyle, how about you?
Yeah, so a bit of the same story. In my family, you had to work very, very hard, but for just a little bit. So you had to work like blood, sweat, and tears and all that, but just for a little bit. And there was always a fear that it could be taken away, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then one big one that still sticks with me is you're lazy if you're not working hard all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a big one.
Yeah. Okay, so that sets you up to work really hard, doesn't it? Not have fun for yourself. Okay,
Yep.
Loretta, what about you? What were the attitudes about work growing up?
Well, for me, it was you have to find a really good job and stay at it and never leave.
Mm-hmm.
Work hard. And it was almost to the point of, if you are at a point where you're not working at work, find a broom and go sweep the floor. That was literally my instructions for the workplace, that you have to work really hard. You have to impress and stay on top of everything and be the absolute best.
Okay. Alyssa, I think we're getting a theme here, aren't we? Alyssa.
Yeah, so it's interesting. My parents were into like us having skills and, oh, you're artistic, great. Don't choose a career with that though, because that's not safe. So choose, enjoy your job, but maybe just a little. Really choose something safe. Because my dad was an entrepreneur and he worked out of the home and he worked all the time. Like, we did a lot of family vacations without him. So the insinuation is, hey, if you work for yourself, you're not going to have any extra time. It's going to eat up everything. So kind of like work for someone else, just get by, nice and secure, and work hard. Yeah, that was definitely.
Well, and I know you've actually gotten past some of that belief because you're very artistic and you're also using that as part of your career now. So, and that's wonderful. Yeah. And I can repeat much of the theme that we're hearing already, which is that my dad worked all day and then he came home, he would have dinner, and then he had an office at home and he would work at home until 11 o'clock at night. So he worked very hard. And one of his themes that he would say is, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And I remember talking to my brother about 10 years ago, and my brother said that about something because he's very much a perfectionist. And I said, Dad always said that. That's where you got that from. And he went, really? He didn't even remember, but here he was perpetuating the belief and the actions. So I've asked people to post where they're from, and we've got quite a few people here from just around the US, and somebody from India and someone from the UK. So welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have you here. And just remember that because this is a Q&A, that you can ask a question. You can click that Q&A link at the bottom and ask a question. And we're going to be just sharing more about with our panelists for their work and how they managed to complete that and then move into Heal Your Life work. So another question is that, we do all have a career path. And so one question is, what skills did you learn from some of this other work, or even growing up, that you brought into the Heal Your Life work? And one of the things I will say for myself is I learned how to be very organized at some of the first jobs that I had because of what I was doing. And I realized coming into Heal Your Life, it really helped me with being able to organize the workshops. So, okay, Sandra, again, what skills do you think you had previously that also has helped you in Heal Your Life work?
Well, I know that for certain, as I look back again on all the different things I did in the bank from the age of 16, communication skills. I had the, advantage of going through a lot of training as an employee, and then also conversely becoming a trainer. And communication skills was something that we taught both to the employees and then learning how to work with customers. So that was very beneficial to me. Also, selling skills.
Mhm.
That's been extremely helpful because when you're running a business, it's important to be able to ask for people to sign up, ask for people to register, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's important. And then also, I made a couple of notes here. Listening skills
Yes.
was something also that we learned a lot, so that we could, really hone in on what the customer was telling us. And that lends itself very well to what's being shared with us in workshop leader training, as well as the workshops.
Yeah. Well, and those are excellent, excellent skills to learn in any job that you're in, and certainly to bring to the Heal Your Life work. And I think that's important for those of you who are attending this webinar to know that, wherever you have been or wherever you are now, you can be developing the skills that you can apply as you go forward, whether it's in the Heal Your Life work or some other arena. But I think sometimes when people have low-level jobs, they tend to think, oh, it's not that important, but it really is. And the example I love to use is that, Rick and I used to go into a Subway house, a Subway sandwich place to get some sandwiches where we used to live. And you could tell by the attitude of the employees what they were going to be able to achieve in life. Seriously, you'd come in and one person would say, okay, what do you want? But you come in and another person would there going, hi, how are you doing? Are you having a nice day? What can I do for you today? And so they were already developing that people skill that would help them in anywhere they were. Okay, Alyssa, how about you? What kind of skills did you learn in previous jobs that you bring to Heal Your Life?
Gosh, so much. Like all of what you've mentioned so far. When I started my corporate career, I couldn't type fast. And now, I don't even need to look at the keyboard. That is actually very instrumental in my coaching. If I'm doing over the phone, then I'm able to say exactly back to the person what they use the words. And that's very helpful. I think in crafting an affirmation, I use their words in a positive way. And then, of course, preparing for my workshops, things like that. Collaborating with different people. I really treasure the experience that I did have in corporate to be able to collaborate with all levels and including executives, and to realize they're just people like me, and they exude confidence that maybe I wasn't exuding, that I didn't have inside. And I think that really until I started doing the Heal Your Life work and really realizing, hey, you're in your niche here, you're in your pocket, like this is the thing you care so deeply about. And that's where the trust and the confidence really came in. And I kind of got it. I was like, oh, that's why they really felt like they deserved a seat at the table, or they really, exuded that confidence, because it was coming from within, and their self-worth and their knowledge, really just taking stock in everything that they had. And kind of like what you're saying with the journey of you pick up all these skills. And I mentioned typing. It seems like what, but you pick up all these things, and it's just a building block of all the communication, the customer service, all of it then really builds in to say it was all really worth it, because I needed it all to be where I am now.
Great. Okay, Loretta.
Okay, the unmute is my biggest challenge.
That's your biggest challenge, girl. That's easy.
I really love this question. I'm in a position where when I left the workplace, the position I was in was employee engagement. Yet over 40 years of the workplace and all of the different jobs, I worked in so many different departments, so many different levels, with so many different people, that I got a chance to see and feel what drove them in the workplace, why they stayed, why they left, what was impactful for them. And that bringing that into the Heal Your Life piece is phenomenal, because everyone I touch, everyone I talk to, they are in some place of stress. And there are studies that show that one of the biggest causes of chronic illness is workplace stress. And so with that, knowing that there is another side, there is another way to reach them and help them to feel better, about what's going on in their life has been phenomenal.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Doyle.
Yeah, so far, ditto to everything that everyone said. I love it. A couple of things that come to me that haven't been mentioned yet. I was, I guess, fortunate to be in a leadership role for most of my corporate career. And part of that was doing a lot of mentoring and working with hiring folks for different positions. I was in hotels, and so hotels are like cities, self-contained cities with different components and lots of different types of people. And so mentoring, learning how to mentor folks, how to listen, how to spot a talent that maybe they didn't even know they had. That was very powerful. I also learned a great deal about marketing. And, when we're working in this kind of field, doing workshops, I mean, marketing is ever changing, but it's always important. People have to know that you're there and what's available. So that's really helped me quite a bit. And then back to what you said initially, Patricia, organization. Like, I had to be organized. I had to get things sorted out. And so that has definitely carried me through all these years doing the work. Once I left the corporate world, I'm a one-man show, and you got to get it all lined up to make it work.
If we have time later, we'll come back to a few of the things that you did to really build a career, and heal your life, which is great. So, yes, I will say that for myself, I never really worked full-time in a typical corporate environment. I did work for the government for a period of time as a social worker. But when I was working on my PhD in social psychology, I actually was the administrator for a grant that covered 5 companies and 6,000 employees. And so I was in charge of organizing who taught the stress management courses, and who taught stop smoking and weight loss and fitness and all those different things. And what I realized in that situation is that I really didn't like being administrator. I really wanted to be actually teaching, especially stress management. And because that was really a focus of mine at the time. And so I was able to do a bunch of affirmations around it. And we'll talk about affirmations at the end, because I was already using them. And that affirmation manifested. And fairly soon I was teaching at a university, which I never expected, and teaching stress management courses. So that was really a lot of fun. And that gave me a lot of skills in actually putting together our workshop and actually teaching every single week, with the students. So again, what we're looking at is that you can gain all the skills that you need as you're going along in the jobs that you are when you're not in your favorite top job, but you can gather the skills. And I will say, because a couple of you mentioned organization. Okay, so if some of you who are on this webinar are thinking, well, I'm not a very organized person and I'm more, free flowing, and I'm not sure I want, hire an assistant. That's your tip. You don't need to do it all yourself. If there are skills that you don't have that you want to have, find an assistant that can help you, and you can do affirmations for that as well. So let's see, another question I have. And again, if any of you have questions, just click that question and answer, or you can post it on the chat, either one you'd like to do. So another question was, what were your favorite parts of the corporate work that you did? What were favorite parts? Now, Loretta's already talked a little bit about hers, because she was able to, manage to get into a piece of the corporate work that was more about motivating and helping employees. But what was your favorite part, and what were your frustrations? So I'm going to go to Loretta, since you've already mentioned the first part.
Okay, well, I would say my favorite part was getting to know so many people in so many different roles. Mm-hmm. Learning to work with the people at the level, the executives, and then the managerial, and all of the different levels, and realizing that they're just people. They open their eyes in the morning, just like you and I do. And also realizing there were times when they felt they were above just being a person, and that the other folks the frustration was that they didn't realize, many didn't realize that it was the work of the people that reported to them that made them shine. And so that was a frustration in trying to get them to see that it is the wholeness of us all that makes us great. So that would have been my frustration.
Yeah. And, you know, I think some of that is definitely changing in companies. They're beginning to see that it's people first, not profits. Now, we're not seeing enough of that. I think as time goes on, we will, but I think there are some companies that are beginning to see that. And, you know, I'm seeing, like in some of the literature about businesses, more about happiness and more about helping employees really develop themselves personally as well. And we have a Heal Your Life corporate program called Managing with Heart and Mind that actually takes the Heal Your Life principles into companies large and small. So, and that's our most advanced program that we have. So talk about that just a little later. But Doyle, how about you? Your things that you liked and enjoyed, and what were your frustrations?
Well, the things I liked were people. I'm very curious by nature about people. I love to talk to folks. I like to get to know them. I like to, meet a lot of different folks. I've had the pleasure of traveling and meeting a lot of people all over the world. Now, what's interesting, I didn't travel until I left the corporate world, by the way. Just that's a little tip there. However, in the corporate world, I got to work with so many different people in different levels, like Loretta's talking about, in different levels of the company. And it was just fascinating. I loved watching to see what made people tick, what motivated them, and what didn't work. I was really aware of like, okay, well, that didn't work for that person. And so then you would see like a dip in performance. That definitely is translated over into the workshops and the coaching. So that was my favorite part, the people. It's still my favorite part of what I do right now anyway. The frustrations that I had was that without realizing it, it was the stress of it all and the self-imposed pressure that I put on myself to work very, very hard to live out those beliefs, that I grew up with. And I worked in a industry that was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So I could indulge in that work behavior. Literally, I could even stay the night. I didn't even have to go home. I mean, I was the boss. So, you can stay. And man, I burn out on the whole deal. And the other part is the last part I'll say is there was a rigidity to it. There was like, only so much you could do in certain situations to help yourself or help people advance because you had rules and boundaries in an organization like that. And I just felt like I needed more flexibility. I felt like people that were working there could do more, could be more, and needed more opportunity. And so anyway, that was part of my frustration.
Yeah. Okay. Sandra.
Helps if I use the little pad on my computer instead of my calendar to get that. So, I love how this works because, in this community, we're always learning more from one another. And just when Doyle was speaking, I was like, oh, wow. Aha, another juicy gem, as Alyssa would say. And so what I loved, my favorite part, I loved banking. I loved it. I loved so many things about it. I dream about it to this day. I loved the community. I loved the customers that came in. I loved learning people's names. I loved that people would come back. I loved my team. I loved the teams I worked with and for. I loved company events when we could get together and, play games. And so I loved all of that. And I also am extremely grateful to corporate America for funding my education. That was something that wouldn't have been possible. And that's what I love too about the Heal Your Life work is I say that all the time is I love the community. Here I am with, the people I work with and for, and, I'm on vacation and here I am because that's how much this means. So that, and the frustration was, for me, it's interesting, Patricia, because like what you said about companies, they have a certain mission statement or value statement. And what I found is that the words weren't pairing up with the actions. And so a turning point for me was when the organization began putting me in a position where I had to choose finances or fees over compassion, and singling out customers because of their net worth wasn't what another person's net worth was. And that didn't work for me. And so that's when I finally had to make a decision that at the core of who I am, I couldn't do it any longer. I had to choose something that was truly heart-centered, and everyone mattered, because we're all, as Loretta said, we all wake up and open our eyes the same way. So
Right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Alyssa.
Gosh, so much of what you all shared. I mean, I really loved being in a big company where I could have all different roles, and there was a lot of room for growth. And I started as a very shy person who took lunches alone, reading a book or writing poetry outside. And then I ended up with a family of people, and I ended up training, like I said, executives and presidents of like the areas. And so just the growth along the way. So that was my education. And really the opportunity to be nurtured and mentored by different people who saw things in me that I didn't see, and said, oh, why don't you go for this opportunity? And I'd be like, me? And so they really, really helped me as someone who was very shy, very anxious. It really helped along the way to really build that self-esteem and the skills that went along with it. And what I didn't love was the productivity and the pace, expecting people to show up the same way every day, when we know that, we're human, there's health, there's other issues going on, like Sandra, big compassionate heart, right? It's not there when you're talking about the productivity or the deadlines or things like that. I remember working one day, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. I was not happy about it because the whole rest of the world was off, and I was on, a technology project, so I had to keep going. And I thought, let me work at Starbucks. That'll make it, because I can work virtual, and it'll make it more happy for me. Well, here's all the families coming in for their Starbucks, and they're shopping, they're having fun with each other, and I just had tears running down my face because I thought, I want to be free. I want to be free to enjoy my life more and not have this take over so much of my life and my being.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Well, and one thing I certainly saw firsthand, and this is going to sound really obvious, but as part of my doctoral dissertation, I wanted to look at the people that were the head of the companies and how their influence changed what happened with the wellness programs. And of course, what I found, and again, this is pretty common sense, but it was part of the project, is that the ones who were the most enthusiastic about the wellness programs were the ones where they had the biggest signups in the company. Like, they really let their employees know, and they were enthusiastic about what they were doing. And, by contrast, I worked with some of the heads of the county departments. And when I went to talk to several of them, one of the, programs was quitting smoking. And one of the heads of the I forget which branch it was, but he went like this on his pocket, and he had his cigarettes right there. So I knew that he was not going to be real enthusiastic about the program. And that segment of the county government and the employees had the lowest signups for the wellness program, because he really couldn't get behind it. So that's another thing that was, for me, even though I wasn't officially the employee, that was a frustration, is that some of the heads of these programs and companies couldn't put aside their personal stuff to say, hey, I do want my employees to be more healthy. And so let me promote this, even if it's not something I'm particularly comfortable with. So, well, the next thing I want to go to is like what helped you, or what kind of a transition did you make between when you were working for the corporate work and getting to the Heal Your Life work? And actually, we could start with, how did you find Louise's work? Was it early on? Was it all of a sudden? When did you find Louise's work and get started with that? So I'm going to go to Doyle first this time.
Okay. So Louise, when I was a teenager, my mother was given a book that we had in the house called You Can Heal Your Life. And I thumbed through it, as a kid, but that was it. And anyway, years later, like a million years later, it feels like, there I am. I had just built a hotel. I had just spent years on this project, staffing it. I was burnt out. I was having a health crisis, which I was having issues I'd never had before. The stress was just unbearable. And I took, for the first time in a long time, I took some time off, and I'm sitting at home, totally like stressed out, not trying to figure out, like, I don't even know what to do. And I see this book on the shelf, and I pull it down, and I start reading it. I don't know why. I just, You Can Heal Your Life. I'm like, yes, that's what I need. Heal my life. It's got to be, something's got to be different. I started looking through it. And anyway, I decided, like a good corporate minded person would, that if there's something to this, if it works, then I'm going to test it. And since I'm at home for a couple of weeks, I'm going to work it like a workbook. I'm going to do every single thing she says, every affirmation, every little exercise, and we'll see what happens. And what did happen was, I felt better. I mean, my life was the same. I had the same responsibilities. I had the same corporate gig to go back to, but I felt better. And it was like, okay, maybe I can think about this in a different way. And so that's what started it. And then the second part, briefly, was I thought, well, maybe there are other people who've read this book and want to talk about it.
Just a few.
So I looked online and I found Sandra. And I went to an event that Sandra was having and talked with her, and then did some coaching with her. And then ultimately figured out that, hey, maybe I could do this. Maybe this is something I could do, help other people who have been absolutely stressed out and felt trapped in their lives. Like, I mean, I really felt like I couldn't do anything else other than what I was doing. Like, you get in a mindset where it's like, this is it. This is all I can do. I've worked my whole life for this. This is it. But it wasn't it. And Sandra helped me, look at that from a coaching standpoint. And anyway, everything changed.
Well, since you've mentioned Sandra, I'm going to go to her next. And Sandra, I know that actually part of your transition was as a Mary Kay consultant, and you did very well with that as well, and you're still doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So a little bit like Doyle, in that I had a total collapse. I did leave corporate into Mary Kay. That was my segue into a leadership position. I was a director with a team, and that gave me the footing to leave one to go the other. And then everything, as my grandmother used to say, everything went to hell in a handbasket. I lost my career job, because that can happen in corporate America. They suddenly eliminate positions. My position was eliminated. I had just ordered a brand new car. I didn't have the funds to pay for my car. Once I got the car, ended up having to sell it. Couldn't pay my bills, had to give up my condo. I mean, I got a divorce. My whole life went belly up. Yeah. And I, like Doyle, I was in a little library on an island, and I looked up and it said, you can heal your life. I'm like, well, I can use a whole lot of healing my life right now. And that was in 2006. I took the workshop leader training that changed my life. In the first morning of the second day, there was an exercise that we did that I knew the career that I was in wasn't the career that was ultimately going to be my career. And I went home and gave up my unit to be a consultant and to start working my Heal Your Life business. As soon as I finished the training, I was out leading workshops. It was like,
Right.
this is where I'm going. So
Yeah. Well, and your commitment and your enthusiasm about the work has actually led to you being authorized as the teacher trainer for the US. And you've just, gone gung ho for it, since 2006. And we are thrilled for that. Thank you. Okay, Alyssa, how about you? How did you find Louise's work? What was your transition out of the corporate work?
In 2008, I had moved from, I grew up in Pennsylvania, moved to Phoenix for a bunch of years, and then I was wanting to move home. So I left a boyfriend of 11 years. I left the state I had been living in for 12 years. I transitioned a job with the same company, and I moved back in with my parents, and my work, it was a lot of change. And then I started a relationship with someone that I had known for years. So went from one relationship to, I felt like, boy, I should feel really happy right now. And I don't. And it was a very difficult period. And I call her an earth angel. Now she's one of my real angels. High school girlfriend and I got together, and she said, why don't you listen to Hay House Radio? Keep it on in the background while you're working. Just let it like lift you up. And it's Louise Hay. And I was like, I think I know that name. So she really got me back into looking at Louise for real this time, and really starting to practice the work. And as Doyle, as you said, the things didn't change. I mean, they were still there. They slowly did change as my thinking and my worthiness and all that change. But I really started by working on my own thinking, my own relationships, and then I started to move up in the corporate world. When I moved up is when it took over my life. So I was very grateful. So I hung in there for a while, and then I just had a meltdown of like, this cannot be how it goes down. Like for me, I am a human being. I need to like live my life. So that is when I really, I started to use mirror work. And I had loved Louise's stuff. I saw her in person. I went to the Hay House conventions. I learned about that there was this teacher program, but I felt like, you're not allowed to take that training yet, Alyssa, because you're still in this other career thing. So I knew it was out there, but it wasn't until I just really, like I said, all right, I'm doing everything Louise says except mirror work, because I felt silly. But I got to the point like where I locked myself in the downstairs bathroom, turned on the fan so no one could hear me. And I did my affirmations, which we'll talk about later, in the mirror. And there was a shift. And I moved into, there was just a whole bunch of really good shifts that happened that were just like, all right. And I had been, because it was working for me so powerfully, I was telling all my coworkers, because they had the same complaints I did. And so I'd say, try this affirmation, try this. And then, oh, that makes me feel better just by thinking about that thought. I'm like, yeah, see, and it'll start to materialize in your life. So I couldn't be quiet about it. And then I finally let myself take the training.
Okay, great. All right, Loretta.
My journey would be a little bit different in that I knew I was going to leave the workplace soon. So I started looking for things probably 2 or 3 years before I left that would resonate with me, that would make me feel good about carrying on work in a different type of way. So I actually was at a quantum conference and met Sandra. She was one of the booths there. And I walked past her and I came back and I saw, just like everyone else, this title, Heal Your Life. And I looked at it and I thought, and it was one of the books that was for sale on the tables. And I thought, do I need to be healed? I literally had to ask myself that. And the moment I said it, all I could think is, you do. You are in a place where you're still searching, you're still looking, you've been working 38 years, you're still searching for what's real for you. And so I asked her about it. She gave me a card. We did her little things, and I bought the book. I did go home and read the book. And I called her and I talked to her about this conference and I thought, or the training, and I thought, if I need to be healed and I didn't know it, there's a lot of folks that need to be healed. Wow. That they're just going through the motions every single day, but we don't feel good. Like Alyssa was saying, I didn't feel good. And so that's where it started. So I met Louise through Sandra, and that's my story.
All right, great. Well, and your story is a little different in terms of your background, and the way that you came to the work. But I will say that for many people, just like Sandra and Alyssa and Doyle have shared, it's a big challenge that happens in your life. Mm-hmm. And we often see that in the program when people come to the workshops or come to the training, that has led them to say, what else can I do? What is going to help me and what's going to change my life? And that's a great turning point, even though it might be a huge challenge, as you've heard, in our lives. And I know I had a similar one, but I didn't find Louise's work right away because she hadn't been writing it at that point. But I had started doing affirmations. And when I found Louise's book, I just thought, okay, of all the books I've read so far, and I had read a lot at that point, You Can Heal Your Life is the best one that brings together body, mind, emotions, and spirit in a way that is easy to understand, easy to implement, great for doing the exercises, as you've heard from people here. And so that actually led me to go to Hay House at the time and find out, what's Louise doing? And I discovered that she was actually going to be speaking at a place near me. And that was before the You Can Heal Your Life book was actually a bestseller. So it was just a group of 100 people, which later, of course, with the I Can Do It conferences turned into thousands of people that she was speaking to. And in this group of 100, I was able to talk to her at the end of that program and get on the mailing list, and then begin attending the intensives that she was doing at the time. And that evolved into her eventually asking me, I asked for her approval, actually, because I'd been doing the workshops and people were saying, can't we train to be able to do these workshops? Because they've changed our lives so much over and above the book, which is great. And so I talked to Louise and said, people want a training program. And she said, okay. And she was very good with decisions like that. And so that has evolved since 1995. And, it is really thrilling. The program that we're doing today, the end part of it is the joy of being a workshop leader, right? So Sandra, what is your joy for being not only a workshop leader, but also the trainer for the U.S.?
My joy is watching. It's hearing like Doyle share. I mean, when we met at the Starbucks that day for him asking, that was an hour and a half that we spent, that the time just flew by. It's watching what happens in everybody's lives, and just watching the shifts, the changes, and like you said, Patricia, just they're physical, the way they look physically, because they're not so stressed out. They look lighter and more beautiful, lifted up, energetic, happy. So that's my joy. And the pandemic this past year really reignited that for me, because I hadn't been leading workshops. I'd been focused on training instead. And especially since I'd relocated to a different place, so I was able to lead virtual workshops. I did them for an entire year. And that just really reignited my love for the workshops. They're just so richly rewarding. They just, yeah.
And I will say that, for those of you on the webinar with us, that we maintain the training itself, the 1 week You Can Heal Your Life training, in person, because the energy of the group and just everything that you can do in terms of your own process is just so much deeper that way. However, because of the pandemic the last year, we have done a lot with the Heal Your Life teachers for getting them online with the workshops that they learn how to do when they're at the training. And so we've spent a lot of time over the last year with that, and it's been great. People have gotten online all over the world to be able to share this work. We do have two questions now. What's the most difficult part of being a workshop leader, if you can identify any challenges? So I'm going to ask Doyle that question.
The most difficult part is, for me anyway, was getting over myself, meaning getting over the fear of setting something up and wondering if I was ready to, teach the work. So what I found was, once you make a decision and start to create affirmations around that, start to move forward, especially in, leading workshops, then you are going to attract the right venue, the right people, the right circumstances to help support you through it. But you have to trust that process a little bit. And that's where my fear came in. So for me, that was the hardest part, actually. The training was fantastic. It was life-changing. And it was coming home and getting over that little bit of like, oof, if I do this, will anybody come? Can I really, pull this off? That was the part that was hard for me. Once I got over that, it just started to move.
Okay. One of the questions we have is, what is the process or practical steps? This is a great question, to transitioning from your day job to leading workshops. So who would like to answer that one? The transition. Okay, Sandra.
Okay, so I'll give a tip that really worked for me. One, and this is a Mary Kay wisdom, and that is, number one, don't quit your day job. First of all, right. It is build your business alongside so that you have footing, so that you're not in fear, so that you can pay your bills. And we used to use a strategy, which was the 5 a.m. club, and that's something whenever I'm needing to kickstart anything, we start at 5 and we run till 8 on whatever that new thing is. So if it's building your workshop business, that's what it is. And if you dedicate 3 hours every single day to that, 5 days a week, before anybody else is up out of bed, that's 15 hours you're dedicating to building a business. So it takes organization, commitment, and putting that time on the calendar to work it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for myself, I would add into that, the transition I talked about is I went from being an administrator to actually teaching stress management classes at the university. And so along with that, what I started doing was doing community workshops and then coaching as well. And that was part-time, but I was eventually, after 3 years, even though I loved doing the university work, I was traveling quite a bit back and forth. And so I let that go and then just focused full-time on the coaching and the workshops. And it took me that was part-time to begin with, but it probably took me another 9 months to get to full-time. So part of it is your own dedication and what you do. If you already have a following of some kind, Instagram is a great one these days, then that helps you to get the workshops going. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure we get to, someone asked, what exactly do I need to proceed with my first and future workshops, such as books, the posters, CDs, etc. So I'm going to go to Alyssa on that one. And, that's really a very practical question about some of the organization, actually. And I will say right up front, we help you with that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. When you leave your workshop leader training, you have everything you need. You're provided everything. You don't need the heart banner. You don't need these other things. They're fun, right? But you really come away with a manual that has a script in it, that if you then need to take the time to just review it and review it again, get comfortable with it. And like Doyle talked about, feeling out, where's your venue? What do you want to, what can you, what do you want to have a 3-hour workshop to start? Or do you want to do it over a few weeks? Or do you want to go ahead and have a first, a 1-day workshop before you jump into a 2-day? So you have lots of options. And when you take the training, your workshop leader, teacher trainer will really help you visualize that as well.
Great. Well, and you do get materials to lead up to 14 different workshops at the training. You get a 10-week study group, and most of those can be 3-hour workshops all on their own. So you leave with a lot of materials, as Alyssa is saying, to be able to just get out there, and you don't have to recreate the wheel. You've got it. And we're providing, some marketing materials. There's a lot of follow-up support. I'm going to get to that in a minute and ask Sandra to talk about her upcoming trainings next year. But I'll go to Loretta next and just say, Loretta, is there anything that you want to add in terms of, the questions that have come up, the several questions that we've had just now?
I would say to Lorraine, I've seen several of her comments. Thank you for your participation. And thanks to everyone. When it comes to walking out of the workplace, it's a big decision. It really is a big decision. So I agree with Sandra that we really want to get our foot solid on ground before you do that. At the same time, I also believe there's a transition in your mind from going from one type of work to another type of work. And you really want to embrace it. And in order to embrace it well, you want to get your feet wet. You want to jump in. You want to do a class or two. You want to feel what it's like. And what the other thing I'm going to say, I don't know that everyone here would agree with me. Doing this work is going to change how you feel about your work in the other environment.
Yes.
You become someone totally different. The people the people you touch, the people that touch you, you embrace them so differently. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you're absolutely true. I hear that a lot, actually, that, I went back to my regular job and it was different because I was different. So that's a great comment to have too. Thank you. There's a question comment here. Are there any upcoming online classes? There are 2 places you can go to look for those. We have an open group on Facebook called Heal Your Life Worldwide, and you can join that one. And we have a lot of people posting there. Then you can also go to healyourlifeworkshops.com and look up your local area or click on workshops. And not as many people post on there, but you can look up your local area and then you can contact some of the workshop leaders that are there. So that's one way to do it. And you can post on Heal Your Life Worldwide and say, hey, is anyone doing a workshop? I'm so-and-so, and here I am, and let's do one. I need to attend one. Also, as I said earlier, the training itself is still online, but you can do the workshops materials, that you get to do the workshops. You can do those online or in person with some, modifications to some of them. So you can choose. You can go online with a lot of them, but you can also do them in person. And some of the in-person ones just really are, even deeper. So those are good. It's a good combination to have, in other words. So I want to go to Sandra and let her tell you about the training that's coming up that she's doing in the US next year. And then we also have other trainings worldwide, and I'll give you that website. I'll put that on the chat. And then I want to have time right at the end so these lovely panelists can share their affirmations. Mm-hmm. Okay, Sandra.
Okay. So and I also want to say that if anyone that is asking a question about getting started also is already a workshop leader, then certainly pop into the licensed teacher Facebook group. And if you want assistance around getting us, getting started, or, we can follow up there. And that's another thing that we do. We have a community of helping one another out. So pop in there, please. The live dates for 2022 for the US trainings, there's going to be one in Tampa, Florida, June 11th through the 18th. And then in San Diego, California, October 22nd through the 29th.
Okay, great. And let's see. So let's share affirmations then. Doyle, would you like to share the affirmations that you like to use for your work?
Absolutely. So I have 3 that I'm going to share. They're brief, that I used when I was transitioning from my corporate gig over to doing workshops. Okay. So I thought these were kind of interesting. The first one was, I am safe. I am safe. Like, this is a safe thing to do. That was one of my issues, was feeling fear about changing. So I am safe. Okay, another one was about being a workshop leader. So it goes like this. I am an amazingly successful workshop leader who is enormously compensated beyond my expectations.
Great.
So super success and a lot of money. Why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are great. And just to tell those of you attending, we are sending these affirmations out in the follow-up email with the replay. So you don't need to try and scribble them all down. We'll be sending them out. Okay, Loretta.
I wasn't ready.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. Mine are, my presence in the workplace means I am wholeheartedly there, contributing and growing in myself. And I have one other, interacting with others helps me know we are all unique in a beautiful way. And my strengths and uniqueness are mine, and I share them freely.
Beautiful. Alyssa.
I make a really good living doing work that comes easy and natural to me. I have a great work-life balance. I love and respect the people I work for and with, and the people I work for and with love and respect me.
Sandra.
Okay, I am richly rewarded for all that I do. I balance work, rest, and play. It's a big one. And my business is prosperous.
Wonderful. Of course, we want a prosperous business. Absolutely. And mine have always been, I love leading workshops. I easily attract all the perfect people for the perfect group in every workshop. I am richly rewarded for what I do. And it's a blessing to myself and the planet to lead this work. So those are our affirmations. And we want to thank you all for joining us. This has been great. One of our teachers actually is posting, she has her first in-person workshop in the UK in Derbyshire coming up. So that's really exciting. And congratulations. And again, be sure that you go to Heal Your Life Worldwide online on Facebook, and also healyourlifeworkshops.com for looking for more workshops, and healyourlifetraining.com for all of the trainings worldwide that are coming up. So thank you for joining us. We love you. We wish you well in whatever position you're in right now, and we welcome you coming into the Heal Your Life work. And so it is. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.